What if you could get a lump sum payout of $10, $20, even $30,000 if you were diagnosed with cancer or had a heart attack or a stroke? One of these medical events can really hit your finances hard, more than just medical bills. So today we're going to look at a very inexpensive $20 or $30 a month plan that could help you deal with the financial stress of one of these diagnoses and why you need one, especially if these things run in your family. Hi, I'm Erika Smiley, one of the educators here at MedicareSchool.com. If you're watching this video, you're probably maybe stressed about Medicare. Maybe you're new to Medicare, or you just want to make sure you get on the right plans and you don't make any mistakes. So we make a lot of videos like this about Medicare, but if you still need help after watching this, we have a lot of guides here that are personally trained by our founder, Marvin Music, and they're happy to take your call and assist you and walk you through your Medicare journey to get you on the right plan. But today, we want to talk about something kind of outside of Medicare bills, medical bills and Medicare, and that's critical illness policies. So if you've never heard of this, you know, insurance is all about transferring financial risk to someone else. And something like cancer, a heart attack, a stroke, you know, they can be very unexpected events that we can't really predict, but we can plan for them. So we want to make sure you're prepared, because for most people, if these things run in your family, it's not a matter of will these things happen to you, but when. So in this video today, we're going to talk about the hidden cost of some of these medical events like cancer, a heart attack, or a stroke. What exactly is a critical illness policy? The when and how of how to get one of these policies. And then we'd like to share a story with you of one of our clients and how they use this policy in their cancer journey. So unfortunately, usually when you ask someone if cancer or heart attacks or strokes run in their family, almost everyone says yes. Unfortunately, some people have both heart attacks and cancer in their family. Here's just some basic statistics. Unfortunately, cancer, one out of two men will struggle or be diagnosed with cancer in their life, and 1 in 3 women. So very, very prevalent. Heart attacks. Heart attacks are the #1 leading cause of death for both males and females. And then where cancer, heart attack, those may be one-time events where hopefully maybe you get treatment and you end up being okay and getting past that. A stroke, unfortunately, could lead to lifelong recovery needs. Now, it's hard enough to deal with the physical and emotional toll of being diagnosed with one of these medical events or having somebody you love or care about in your family being diagnosed. But on top of that, the financial stress to have to deal with that as well can really be heartbreaking. So it's true that 66.5% of all bankruptcies are due to medical debt. So today, again, we're going to look at some of these policies and see how we can alleviate some of this financial stress through these critical illness plans to help you just focus on healing and taking care of yourself or a loved one if you have to deal with cancer, heart attack, or stroke. Now, if you're familiar with Medicare, obviously Medicare, whichever plans you have, whether they're supplemental plans like a G plan or Advantage plans, are going to help cover some of your treatment, hospital stays, medications, and medical bills for these events. If you have a supplemental G plan, remember, everything will be covered except for that $257 deductible that you have to meet on the Part B side. If you have Advantage plans, you're going to have co-pays and cost for the time you're in the hospital, medications, treatments you have to have. But outside of Medicare or the plans you have covering the medical bills, there's a lot of out-of-pocket expenses and things people don't think of. Stats show that with heart disease, the average out-of-pocket cost for someone with heart disease or a heart attack is over $21,000, $21,995. For a stroke, the average out-of-pocket for that is actually $23,380 annually. So this is annually, because we know if someone has a stroke, they could suffer forever from that. If they're paralyzed or if they're not able to take care of themselves, they have to have annual care, changes to their homes, modifications to their homes, all kinds of things that can add up. And cancer, the over $10K is the out-of-pocket predicted expense for someone who's gone through cancer or cancer treatment. Now, of these costs, about 42% of these costs are indirect costs you may not think of. So let's take a look at what some of these are. Job loss. So we've heard about people losing their job because they had to take so much time off because they were going through treatment themselves, or they had to take care of a loved one going through treatment. This could lead to mortgage struggles. People have a lot of medical bills, and all of a sudden they're having problems making ends meet and just paying for the regular cost of living, their mortgage, their utilities, things like that. Maybe supporting a loved one financially. Maybe you've had a cousin or a sister or someone that you have to help financially because they can't afford all of their medical bills, so you're supporting a loved one. So just think about if you have to go to like Mayo Clinic or Johns Hopkins or somewhere if you have cancer, there can be a lot involved. Travel, gas, lodging, flights. So something like travel expenses, those are indirect costs of these medical events. Now, home modifications. So think of home modifications you might have to make. If you have a stroke, those people might have to put ramps in their home or have special things put in the bathrooms or kitchens, things like that to help people who have suffered a stroke. In addition to home modifications, it can be things like special dietary needs. So sometimes if people are cancer patients, they have to have special dietary needs. Also, a lot of people want to do things that are not traditional medical care. So maybe even things like I've heard of acupuncture. Where people want to try different things like non-traditional care that's not covered by Medicare or their insurance plans. And then lastly, just little things you don't think about. If you're in the hospital or you're taking care of a loved one who's in the hospital, you may have to hire people like someone to do your lawn and take care of landscaping. Maybe you have a pet that you have to send to the pet facility. That can add up and get very expensive, having to send your pets to boarding or to pet care. Or maybe even someone to come do cleaning at your home, or even a meal service, something like that. So it's just all these things that you may not think of that are going to add up and cost a lot of money outside of medical bills. Hey, if you found this video helpful, do us a favor. Go give us a like. We always appreciate it. And subscribe so you don't miss out on any of those future videos. And leave us a comment. We'd love to hear what you have to say. We love to answer any questions you have. That's what it's here for. So drop us a comment below. Now, even if you're the most prepared person who really takes care of your finances, not many people think to plan for this. A lot of us have 401ks, or we have 529s to save for the kids' colleges. I even have a friend who has a wedding fund for her daughters so she has money when she gets married. But none of us think, oh, I'm going to put a little back for my cancer fund or my heart attack fund, right? So that's why we want to tell you about something called a critical illness plan. So a critical illness plan is a very inexpensive plan that you can get. I mean, they're usually anywhere from about $20 to $30 a month. So a very inexpensive policy. And these can range anywhere from about $10,000 to $75,000. So a lot of them can pay all the way up to $75,000. And your monthly premium obviously depends on what kind of coverage you get. So most people do about $20,000 or higher, $20,000 or $30,000. And again, that's about $20 to $30 a month. So you think about that. I mean, we spend that much on coffees out, right? Or just silly things. And this money, when it's paid out to you, it's tax-free. You don't have to pay any taxes on it, and it's a lump sum that can be given to you, or you can name a beneficiary that you want to get this money, and you can use it for anything. It doesn't have to go to medical bills. You can use it for all of those things we just talked about that are indirect expenses with no questions asked. So who can get these plans? Well, there's quite a few carriers that offer these plans, and really they offer them to anyone ages 18 through 99 years old. Now here's the catch, just like with any insurance, you can't be in a car accident and then call from the accident and say, hey, I need auto insurance, right? So this is where we have to plan ahead. You can't get these policies if you're already diagnosed with cancer, or if you already are having problems with stents put in your heart. So most of them, you are going to have to go through medical underwriting and answer a few questions about your health. And they're going to have a look back period to see if you've had any kind of diagnosis, abnormal test results, or events that have happened in the last 12 months. So this is the kind of policy where you need to buy it when you're healthy, you don't have any diagnosis, and you're just planning for the future. So you may wonder, what kind of questions would they ask to get one of these policies? So obviously it depends on if you're getting a cancer policy or a heart policy. They're going to ask some specific questions. But some of these are going to ask questions like, in the past 5 years, so the big key of this is in the past 5 years, have you had any test like a PSA test, a mammogram, colonoscopies, anything that's that kind of screening that has come back abnormal or had inconclusive results where it may be cancerous? So that's one thing they're going to look at. Then they're going to ask, in the last 5 years, have you been diagnosed or treated or had surgery, radiation, or chemo for anything such as leukemia, Hodgkin's disease, melanoma, lymphoma, or any other internal cancers? So like a lot of people, melanoma is kind of common, right? So that may already knock you out if you've had that in the last 5 years. So these are some of the questions they may ask you, especially if you're applying for a cancer policy. Now, some of the other questions they might ask you is, have you ever had an AIDS or an HIV diagnosis? Then, of course, they're going to ask you about your cardiovascular health. So have you had any cardiac bypass? Have you had transient ischemic attack, TIA? Have you had any artery disease at all? Have you had a heart arrhythmia? They might also ask if you have a diagnosis of congestive heart failure. Have you had a pacemaker put in? Have you had any aortic valve disease? So these are some of the things they're going to ask you questions about, okay? Now, it's interesting to know that the cancer policy and the heart attack and stroke policies are separate. So maybe you can't qualify for a heart attack policy, but you could get the cancer policy. So a lot of people will get both of these. Again, like I said, anywhere from maybe $15, $20 to $30, $35 a month for these policies, but they are separate. So that's good to know that cancer policy and the heart attack stroke policy are separate. Now, one thing they might also ask you too is, have you in the last 6 months had a blood pressure reading over 150/95? So if you're having some high blood pressure issues, that's going to be a red flag for getting approved as well. Another question you might be asked on these is about if you have diabetes or not. So are you a diabetic who's treated with insulin? And they actually break this down to have you been diagnosed and treated with insulin before age 45? And have you been diagnosed and treated with insulin post age 45? So they kind of break that question down. And then really lastly is just, do you have any outstanding tests out there? Do you have anything like CAT scans, MRIs, any kind of test, screening tests that are still out there that are non-conclusive? That would be another question they would ask. So again, it's not like you have to undergo a medical exam. There's just some questions you have to ask, simple few questions, and it never hurts to apply for these policies and see if you can get approved or not. I thought it was great to talk about these policies because I think a lot of people don't know they're out there, and a lot of people don't know how inexpensive they are. So I did want to share, I have a lot of the guides here that I asked, could they share some critical illness stories with me? Because that's one thing we care about a lot here, is educating people, but also helping people and setting them up on these plans to help protect them. That's really what insurance is about. It's about peace of mind. So we actually have a client, the family worked with us here, and they got a critical illness plan. And unfortunately, the husband was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. And they had one of these policies, and he cashed in the policy, got the lump sum of money, and took his family on a vacation to Disney World. And unfortunately, that gentleman passed away, but I think it's fantastic that he had that money to do that. I'm sure they had a great time at Disney, had a lot of wonderful memories that they had. So that's just going to show, like, it doesn't have to be for medical bills. It's really anything you need the money for. So I really hope that you never need to cash in one of these policies. I hope you never have to deal with one of these medical events. But we do know that things happen. And again, if it runs in your family and you have heart attack and cancer in your family, it's more of a case of not, is it ever going to happen, but just when, down the road. So please, if you want more information on these critical illness policies, call us at Medicare School. We actually do write these plans in addition to Medicare plans too. And it only takes a few minutes to go through the underwriting, see what the pricing is, and if you would qualify for a cancer, heart attack, or a stroke plan, just so you're well prepared for anything that could happen in the future.